Now in this video we're going to take all those simple shapes that we've learned how to draw and we're going to start putting them together to create more complicated objects. And first we're going to learn how to draw a lampstand. Now you can think of the lampshade as being a section of the cone. If we're to chop a bit off like that, then that makes the lampshade. You could also think of it as being a cylinder where at one end the circle has a diameter much greater than that of the circle at the other end, so it's kind of like a pinched in cylinder. The shaft of the lampstand is just a very basic cylinder like a pen, and the base is just a very simple disc like this lid of a jar with the lampshade on top. You get a lampstand. That's the very basic idea. Now in this case all three shapes could have been formed around a central axis, and in fact the whole lampstand spins around the central axis with the same profile all the way around, so this could also have been made on a lathe or on a potter's wheel. Not so easy on a potter's wheel. Now here we have the lampshade and the base, which is a disc, and this is the pen which sort of goes through the middle holding it all up. And we can draw this as a very simple profile. That will be the lampshade, and then we'll have the lampstand, and there's the base. And that is a very simple sideways elevation profile view of a lampstand. Now if we would turn the whole thing up so we're looking straight down on it from above, so that we were seeing an aerial view, then we're going to get a series of circles. Oop. I haven't been practicing my circles enough, have I? There we are. So this will be the outer circle, and this will represent this here, because this is the widest diameter, and then this diameter here will be the shade. So let's pretend this is a spotty shade like that, just to give us something to work on. So that will have spots on the outside, so this will give us an idea of what's going on. And then you're going to get the lamp shaft right in the middle of it, aren't you? And in fact you're going to get the light bulb and the fittings as well, so we can very lightly put the light bulb in there. So this line here equates to that width there. Okay, this shaft equates to this central pillar, and then we're going to have the base, which is going to be sort of something like that. Shall we shade the base so we get something different, so we can see that that is the base? Like that. And then we're going to get some kind of metalwork holding the whole thing on like that. To turn this into a 3D representation, we don't want to see it from an aerial view, we don't want to see it from the side, we want to see it from an interesting angle from the side. So these circles will need to become ellipses, and we know that that is going to be sort of so wide like that, and we know that this is coming down at an angle like that, and we know that this is coming around there at this diameter across there, and inside we can maybe, if you want to, you can draw the back bit, and you know that you're going to have the lampstand is going to be this sort of shaft coming down the middle, which is a cylinder, and then the base is going to be another ellipse there, down a little bit on each side, so it's a disc which is a very flat cylinder. And here we can bring that around there, and then maybe the top needs a little bit of something around there just to make it look a bit more interesting. Maybe that needs a bit of something there, like we might have here. And then the base will come down there. And then we will have the base along the bottom like that, and maybe that will be shaded. This might be shaded a bit down the side. There might be a bit of shading across there, and we might have a bit of shading there, and very likely to have some shading in the top. And then the whole thing will cast a bit of a shadow. So you can see how we simply move from this sideways profile to an aerial view profile. These horizontal straight lines from an aerial view become circles, and when you tilt them, you squash them into ellipses, and you build the whole thing exactly the same way as you do this, but as a 3D representation. Now, if you've got your breath back from that one, let's try and make the lampstand just that bit more interesting. And it's just building the whole thing up. So this is going to be the lampshade. And this time, this is where we know there's going to be another ellipse there. We can imagine the axis around which the whole thing is rotating coming through there. Here, we could then build a vase just like we did before, because quite often lampstands are made out of vases, as we know. So we could have a vase like that. But we could maybe make this lampshade a bit more interesting as well. We could straighten up those edges maybe like that. And this is going to be really complicated now. Those are going to kind of go like that. Why am I doing this? Because I just want to show you kind of how we can manipulate all these shapes. You usually get a little bit of gimp braid around the top of a lampshade like that. This will come down there, like that, and then we get a bit of braid around the bottom there as well, and quite often that goes into a fringe as well. Now we know how to draw this, but we don't have to worry about what's inside there because we've planned it all. All we really need to do is to draw this curve here coming down to the base, and maybe we can put this on a wonky looking table, and we can have the flex is coming here, and maybe there's a little switch, and we probably want some shade there, maybe some more shade there because the lampshade will be casting shade as well. A bit of shade on the table. You can see the back legs as well there. We've probably got some kind of metal work coming down there. That will be darker there. And that will certainly be darker inside. This is exactly the same as that, built up in exactly the same way, but it's just been added to and made more complicated, and this very simple cylinder has now been turned into a vase, which we learned how to do already, and is putting lots of different shapes together to create much more interesting things.